Welcome, my friends. And let me tell you a heartwarming story of redemption, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Enjoy the story. Irving Simmons was a man who knew what he wanted. As the owner of Noto, the most sought-after restaurant in the city, he had built a culinary empire based on his passion for unique experiences and his love of folklore. His innovative dishes and surprising touches had earned him a reputation as a mastermind in the kitchen, and reservations at Noto were booked solid for months in advance. But despite his success, Irving was always looking for ways to take his restaurant to the next level. He spent long hours in his office, poring over ancient cookbooks and obscure tales, searching for inspiration. It was during one of these late-night sessions that he received a call from his old friend, Victor Peterson. "Irving, you won't believe what I just heard at your restaurant," Victor said, his voice crackling with excitement. "There's this young girl, couldn't be more than 16, and she's singing like nothing I've ever heard before. You've got to come down and check it out." Irving leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "A young singer, huh? What's so special about her?" "Trust me, Irving, you have to hear it to believe it. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. And I've been to my fair share of concerts. Just come down and see for yourself." Irving glanced at his watch. It was late, but his curiosity was piqued. "All right, Victor. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Irving Simons was a man who knew what he wanted. As the owner of Noto, the most sought-after restaurant in the city, he had built a culinary empire based on his passion for unique experiences and his love of folklore. His innovative dishes and surprising touches had earned him a reputation as a mastermind in the kitchen, and reservations at Noto were booked solid for months in advance. But despite his success, Irving was always looking for ways to take his restaurant to the next level. He spent long hours in his office, poring over ancient cookbooks and obscure tales, searching for inspiration. It was during one of these late-night sessions that he received a call from his old friend, Victor Peterson. "Irving, you won't believe what I just heard at your restaurant," Victor said, his voice crackling with excitement. "There's this young girl, couldn't be more than 16, and she's singing like nothing I've ever heard before. You've got to come down and check it out." Irving leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "A young singer, huh? What's so special about her?" "Trust me, Irving, you have to hear it to believe it. It's like nothing I've ever heard before, and I've been to my fair share of concerts. Just come down and see for yourself." Irving glanced at his watch. It was late, but his curiosity was piqued. "All right, Victor. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Chapter 2. An Unexpected Guest. Tanya and Samuel were used to dealing with all sorts of situations at Noto. As the restaurant's administrators, they had seen everything from drunken brawls to marriage proposals gone wrong. But when they spotted a young girl singing near the entrance, they knew they had a dilemma on their hands. "What should we do?" Samuel asked, watching as the girl's haunting melody filled the air. "We can't just leave her out there in the rain." Tanya bit her lip, considering their options. "Irving wouldn't be happy if we let some random girl into the restaurant," she said. "But we can't just ignore her either. She looks like she's been through a lot." As if on cue, the skies opened up, and a torrential downpour began to soak the streets. The girl's singing faltered, and she huddled against the wall, shivering in her thin coat. "That's it," Tanya said, making up her mind. "We're bringing her inside. Irving will just have to deal with it." She pushed open the door and called out to the girl. "Hey, sweetie, why don't you come inside and warm up? We've got some dry clothes and a hot meal waiting for you." The girl hesitated, her eyes wide with fear. But as another gust of wind whipped through the streets, she nodded and hurried inside. Valerie couldn't believe her luck. Just a few hours ago, she had been wandering the streets, desperate for a place to stay. Now, she was sitting in the back room of the most famous restaurant in the city, wearing a warm, dry sweater and sipping a mug of hot cocoa. "You have a beautiful voice," Tanya said, sitting down next to her. "Have you ever thought about singing professionally?" Valerie shook her head. "No, I just sing for fun. My grandmother taught me all the songs I know. She used to say that music was the only thing that could lift the soul." Tanya smiled. "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman. You know, we have a stage here at Noto. Would you be interested in singing for our guests tonight? You can keep any tips you make. Valerie's eyes widened. Really? You'd let me sing here? In Valerie's mind, she was already planning to use the tip she received to buy medicine for her seriously sick mother. Tanya nodded. Of course, we'd be honored to have you. And who knows, maybe someone important will hear you and offer you a recording contract. Valerie took a deep breath, then nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. As she stepped out onto the stage, Valerie felt a rush of nerves. But as soon as she opened her mouth to sing, all her fears melted away. Her voice rang out clear and strong, filling the room with a haunting melody that seemed to come from another world. The diners fell silent, their forks clattering to their plates as they listened in awe. Valerie's voice was like nothing they had ever heard before, a mix of throat singing and traditional folk music that sent shivers down their spines. As the last notes of the song faded away, the room erupted in applause. Diners rushed forward to stuff bills into the tip jar, their faces alight with wonder. And that's when Irving walked in. Irving couldn't believe his ears. The voice that filled his restaurant was one he had heard before, in a time and place that seemed like a lifetime ago. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he was back in that remote Appalachian village, lying in a small cabin with a broken leg. The girl who had rescued him, Helen, had sat by his bedside day and night, singing the same haunting melody that now echoed through Noto. Irving had been enchanted by Helen's voice, by her kind heart and gentle spirit. He had promised her that he would come back for her one day, that he would take her away from the poverty and hardship of her life. But he had never returned. The demands of his growing restaurant empire had consumed him, and he had pushed thoughts of Helen to the back of his mind. Now, as he listened to the young girl on stage, he knew that he had to make things right. He pushed his way through the crowd, his heart pounding in his chest. As he reached the stage, he found himself face to face with the singer. She was young, no more than 16, with long dark hair and piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through him. But it was her voice that truly stunned him. It was the same voice he had heard all those years ago, the same voice that had haunted his dreams. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Valerie," the girl replied, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Valerie Peterson." Irving's breath caught in his throat. Peterson, the same last name as Helen. "Valerie," he said, his heart racing. "I know this might sound strange, but I think I might know your mother. Her name is Helen, isn't it?" Valerie's eyes widened in shock. "Yes, that's my mom's name, but how did you know that?" Irving took a deep breath, then told her the story of his past, of the girl who had rescued him and stolen his heart. As he spoke, he watched Valerie's face, looking for any sign of recognition or understanding. And then, as he finished his tale, he saw it. A flicker of something in her eyes, a glimmer of the same fierce determination that he had seen in Helen all those years ago. "I think you might be my father," Valerie said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My mom always said that my dad was a man she had rescued in the mountains, a man who had promised to come back for her but never did." Irving felt as if the world had stopped spinning. He had a daughter, a beautiful, talented daughter, with the voice of an angel. But as he looked closer, he saw the pain and hardship etched into Valerie's face. He saw the threadbare clothes, the hollow cheeks, the dark circles under her eyes. "Valerie," he said, his voice breaking, "I'm so sorry. I should have come back for your mother, for you. I should have been there for you all these years." Valerie shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "It's okay," she said. "You're here now. That's all that matters." Irving wasted no time in making things right. He immediately arranged for Helen to be transferred to the city's best private clinic, with all expenses paid. He set Valerie up in a luxurious suite at the Ritz-Carlton with a wardrobe befitting a princess. But most importantly, he was there for them. He spent every moment he could by Helen's bedside, holding her hand and whispering words of love and apology. He took Valerie on shopping sprees and to the finest restaurants, determined to make up for all the years he had missed. And slowly but surely, Helen began to recover. The color returned to her cheeks, and her eyes sparkled with renewed life. Valerie blossomed under Irving's love and attention, her voice growing stronger and more beautiful with each passing day. As they sat together in Helen's hospital room one evening, Irving took both of their hands in his. "I know I can never make up for the past," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I promise you, from this day forward, I will be here for you both. You are my family, and I will love and protect you until the day I die." Helen smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "We forgive you, Irving," she said softly. "We know that you never meant to hurt us, and we're just so grateful to have you back in our lives." Valerie nodded, her face alight with happiness. "I always dreamed of having a dad," she said, "and now I have the best one in the world." Irving felt his heart swell with love and pride. He had spent so many years chasing success, building an empire that now seemed meaningless in comparison to the true riches he had found. But as he looked at the two beautiful women beside him, he knew that he had finally found his true purpose in life. He had found his family, and he would cherish them forever. 1 year later, Nato was abuzz with excitement. The restaurant was hosting a special event, a concert featuring the rising star of the music world, Valerie Peterson. As Irving watched from the wings, his heart swelled with pride. Valerie was radiant on stage, her voice soaring to new heights with every song. The audience was enraptured, their faces alight with joy and wonder. And beside him, holding his hand, was Helen. She had made a full recovery, and was now the picture of health and happiness. Together, they had built a new life, one filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. As the final notes of Valerie's song faded away, the audience leapt to their feet in a standing ovation. Irving and Helen rushed on stage, enveloping their daughter in a fierce hug. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," Helen whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You're a true star in every sense of the word." Valerie beamed, her eyes shining with joy. "I couldn't have done it without you both," she said. "You gave me a chance, a family, and a future. I love you both so much." Irving felt his own tears threatening to fall. He had spent so many years searching for meaning, for purpose, never realizing that the answer had been waiting for him all along. And now, as he stood on stage with his family, he knew that he had finally found it. He had found love, redemption, and a new chapter in his life that was just beginning.